I survived my first night. I want you to hold that sentence for a second, because by the time I got to my second shift, I thought the hard part was behind me. I thought I knew what the building was. I was wrong. The second shift started at 10 p.m. I pulled into the lot. The security light over the loading dock buzzed the way it always buzzed. I walked through the front entrance, checked the alarm panel, started my first corridor walk. At 11:43 p.m., I reached Unit 4. There was something in the window. Let me give you the layout, because the layout is what kept me alive. Decommissioned pharmaceutical cold storage, industrial corridor, 40 minutes outside the city. The company that ran it went bankrupt in 2019. A property management firm took over the lease and hired security while they figured out what to do with the space. My company sent me front entrance, side access door, loading dock on the east face, heavy rolling doors, thick enough to muffle anything happening inside. Beyond the entrance, a dead administrative wing, offices still furnished, computers still on desks, the kind of space abandoned mid-sentence. Then a long central corridor, 60 meters, fluorescent lights, cold concrete floor. 8 cold storage units off the corridor, 4 on each side. Each unit sealed with a heavy industrial door. Each door fitted with a small wire mesh window at eye level, 20 centimeters wide, 15 tall. The refrigeration had been offline since 2019. The units weren't cold anymore. They were just rooms, dark, and sealed rooms that smelled like industrial coolant and something older underneath it. Something that had been frozen for a long time and was now, slowly, coming back up. At the far end of the corridor, the mechanical room, generators, electrical panel, security desk with a monitor showing 6 camera feeds, a radio, a logbook. That was my station. That was where I spent each shift between perimeter walks. The mechanical room had 2 doors, one into the corridor, one into a narrow maintenance passage that ran behind all 8 units and connected to a hatch on the building's north face. I memorized that second door on my first night. I didn't know why at the time. My briefing before the first shift covered 3 things: building layout, alarm system, client contact number. That was it. No mention of why the previous guard had requested reassignment after 9 days. No mention of the maintenance report describing damage to the unit interiors. Animal activity of unknown origin. No mention of the 2 loading dock cameras replaced the week before I started, footage deleted rather than archived. I found all of that out later. 10 p.m., alarm panel clear, administrative wing undisturbed. I move into the corridor and start my walk. 60 meters of fluorescent light with shadow pooling between the fixtures. 8 doors, 4 on each side, evenly spaced. At each door, the window. Small dark rectangle at eye level, each one as you pass. I swept every window as I walked. Habit. Unit 1, empty. Unit 2, empty. Unit 3, empty. Unit 4. Lower right quadrant of the window, a shape, dark against dark. The unit interior wasn't lit. The corridor light didn't reach deep enough, but darker than the surrounding darkness and with an edge, a defined edge, not a shadow, the edge of a surface that curved. I stood there for 8 seconds. I watched the clock at the far end of the corridor. 8 seconds. The shape did not move. It held completely still. And I understood, with a certainty that had nothing to do with logic and everything to do with my body, that whatever was on the other side of that glass knew I was there. I did not open the door. I kept walking, slowly. Units 5 through 8, empty. I completed the corridor, went back to the mechanical room, sat down. Na picked up the radio. My supervisor picked up. I told him, shape in the Unit 4 window, possibly an animal, could be a reflection. He told me to log it, enhance perimeter check at next interval, call again if it persists. Then he said, don't open the unit doors unless you absolutely have to. I said, why? He said, just keep them closed. Radio signal dropped. Call ended. I sat at the desk. 6 camera feeds on the monitor. Unit 4's door visible from the north corridor camera. Door closed. Window dark. Everything normal. I watched the monitor for 11 minutes without moving. At 10:31 p.m., the north corridor camera went to static. I reached for the radio. Dead air. 3 channels. Nothing. I picked up my phone, 2 bars, and called my supervisor. The call connected. Line open. I said his name. Behind the silence on the other end, not his voice, something else. Low, brief, the sound of something breathing from a depth that had nothing to do with lungs. I ended the call. Radio dead, phone useless, north camera offline. No way out that didn't require walking the corridor. At 10:44 p.m., the Unit 4 door opened. South corridor camera still running. I watched it on the monitor. The door swung inward, slowly, no force, no drama. The way a door opens when someone on the other side turns the handle and is completely certain they won't be interrupted. Nothing came out. The door stood open, a rectangle of darkness where it had been. The camera showed me the empty corridor. Nothing moving, nothing on the feed. I turned off the light in the mechanical room, sat against the far wall, flashlight off, back to the concrete, waited. 4 minutes later, I heard footsteps in the corridor. Not animal, not HVAC, bilateral, evenly spaced. Something walking upright on 2 legs, unhurried, moving down the corridor toward the mechanical room. They stopped outside my door. I went through the maintenance passage door, pulled it shut behind me, ran. Service corridor, narrow, completely dark. I turned the flashlight on. My footsteps were loud on the concrete. I ran the full length, 25 seconds, hit the north hatch, and pushed it open, came out into cold air. Around the north face of the building, parking lot, my car. Key in the ignition. Nothing. Not a slow engine, not a low battery, nothing. No sound, no click, no attempt. I turned the key 6 times. The car sat completely inert. I looked at the building. Every exterior light was off. The loading dock light, buzzing all night my first shift, dark. The building sat in front of me, black, completely silent, and nothing had followed me out. I went back in through the side access door, administrative wing, locked it behind me, moved to the alarm panel, typed the emergency code. System disabled. Contact property management. The panel had been active at 10 p.m. I had checked it on arrival, and now it was dead, in a building where I was the only person who should have been able to touch it. I stayed in the administrative wing, moved between offices, kept the connecting door to the corridor locked. One plan, wait for morning. 6 a.m. check-in call, 5 hours. At 1:17 a.m., the connecting door unlocked. The lock requires a key card. My key card was in my pocket. I heard the mechanical click of it disengaging, and then the door swung open into the corridor. It was standing in the corridor. Tall. Not impossibly tall, not breaking the ceiling, but filling the vertical space the way something fills a room when it belongs there more than you do. Not entirely dark. It had a quality, the place where shadow and light meet, the edge of a thing seen in deep water, the volume and displacement of it without the surface. Very large, very still. Facing me. I went through the nearest office, through the office behind it, emergency exit at the back of the administrative wing. Alarm didn't sound, alarm was dead. Out into the loading dock on the east side, ran along the east face, back to the north, back to the maintenance hatch, back inside. In the service corridor, in the dark, I stopped and listened. Nothing. The hatch for Unit 7 was in front of me. I opened it with a flathead from the wall toolkit. Dark inside, empty. I crawled through, pulled the hatch mostly closed. Crouched in the corner of Unit 7, flashlight off, phone battery at 11%, no signal, and then I let the shaking come because my body had been holding it back since 11 p.m. and it was done waiting for permission. 39 minutes. Silence. Just my breathing and the faint distant hum of the city outside the walls. At the 40th minute, something knocked on the Unit 7 door. 3 times. Pause. 3 times again. Not a bang. A knock. Deliberate. Paced. The knock of something that knows exactly how knocking works. I stopped breathing. Through the wire mesh window in the Unit 7 door, something blocked the corridor light. Not a hand, not a face. The absence of the light in the shape of something looking in. 90 seconds. Then the light came back. It had moved on. Around 2 a.m., I crawled back out of Unit 7 and went to the mechanical room, kept the lights off, sat at the desk, 4 camera feeds left. South corridor gone offline. Front entrance, both loading docks, administrative wing. Nothing moving. I opened the previous guard's logbook. Days 1 through 8. Normal. Standard log. Day 9 was different. The handwriting changed. Harder, less controlled, scoring the page. Unit 4, door found open at OBA 145. Closed and logged. No sign of entry or exit. Returned at 0230. Door open again. Did not approach. Stayed at station until 0600. Sound from corridor 0330 to 0345. Unclear origin. Not animal, not HVAC. Request reassignment. Do not recommend solo overnight posting at this facility. 9 days, 1 bad night. Then he asked to leave. Before him, a woman, 6 days. Day 6, corridor camera offline. Radio not functioning. Staying in admin wing until morning. Not going back to the corridor. No entry after that. Before her, Emeka, 11 days. Days 1 through 10. Completely normal. Day 11, 7 words, pressed so hard the pen scored the sheet below. It let me leave. I don't know why. I read those 7 words 4 times. It let me leave, not I escaped, not I got out. It let me leave. Emeka wasn't claiming credit. He was reporting a decision that something else had made about him. 3 guards, same building, same unit, same pattern. The door, the camera, the radio, the silence. Each one surviving, each one leaving. And then they sent the next one. It had been in this building, doing this, long before any of us arrived. At 4 a.m., I walked back to the corridor. I want to be clear about this. I didn't go because I worked something out. Yet I went because I had been running for 6 hours and hiding for 6 hours, and the car wouldn't start, and the alarm was dead, and the radio was dead, and there was nowhere left to go. The only thing I hadn't tried was standing still. I pushed the corridor door open and stood at the near end of the hallway. It was at the far end. From 60 meters away, in cold fluorescent light, it faced me, and I faced it, and I did not move, did not reach for the flashlight, did not step back, did not look away. The fluorescent tube above me flickered. Once. I didn't flinch. We stayed like that until my legs were shaking, and I had lost track of how long it had been, and I still did not move. Then it turned. Not toward me. Away. The volume of it shifted, rotated, faced the mechanical room door, and then it went through it, not opening the door, through it, into the mechanical room. Gone. I stood in the corridor for the next 2 hours, did not go back to the mechanical room, did not move. At 6:04 a.m., my phone showed 1 bar of signal, missed call from Dan Lottie's number. The front entrance camera came back online, headlights in the parking lot, the check-in call, someone coming. I walked to the front entrance, pushed through the door, outside. The security light above the loading dock was buzzing again. My car started on the first try. I filed a report, radio failure, net camera outages, alarm system anomaly, shape in the Unit 4 window. I kept the rest of it off the page. They assigned me to a different site the following week. The facility got a new guard. He lasted 4 days. I think about Emeka's 7 words more than anything else from that night. It let me leave. Because if it let Emeka leave and it let me leave, then it's making a choice each time. It decides. And 3 guards went in after Emeka and before me, and none of them made it past 9 days, and I don't know what they gave it, and I don't know what Emeka gave it, and I don't know what I gave it. But something was different about what it got from us. Whatever it is learning, it has not yet learned enough. The guards keep coming, and none of them lasting more than 6 days since me. There's one thing I haven't told anyone, from the moment in the corridor when it was at the far end and I was standing still. At some point during that stillness, it made a sound, not the breathing from the phone. Something shaped, structured, intentional, rising and falling in a way that implied something was producing it deliberately, aimed at me, calibrated to me specifically. On some level beneath language, it sounded like my name. I don't know if standing still was the right answer. I know I survived. I know surviving was something I was granted, not something I earned. If you've worked overnight security in an industrial building, if you've been alone in a space that should be empty and felt the specific certainty that it wasn't, if you've seen something on a camera feed that wasn't there when you walked the floor, I want to know what you did when you had nowhere left to run. Not whether you survived. What decision you made when survival stopped feeling like something you could control. Because I think some of you know exactly what I'm describing, and I think some of you made the same choice I made. And I think some of you didn't. The second shift is over. I don't know what starts on the third. I left something out of this story deliberately, something that happened between Unit 7 and the corridor at 4 a.m. Yeah, I'm not including it because I don't know if telling it helps the next person or just makes things worse for them. If you've been in that building, if the layout matches somewhere you've worked, tell me what happened at Unit 4, not what you saw, whether you opened the door or walked past it. I think the night starts the same way every time. I think Unit 4 is always the first signal. I think what happens after depends entirely on what you do next. Stay safe. And if you're on a night shift right now, don't open the door.